Let's get into some movies here. So, our first review is going to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Like I said, it is the sequel to the first Sonic movie, which was a nice, pleasant surprise. I'm very much I like the first one. I thought it had some good
Yeah,
elements in it.
yes, same. I think the first movie had a lot of benefit of lowered expectations because the first trailer came out with that horrifying monstrosity that was that original design.
That
It
people.
was terrifying. It was
Yeah,
the stuff of nightmares.
that a lot of people complained about that they eventually ended up changing real quick. I mean, it was very much a pleasant surprise, and they did the quick redesign with the Sonic character, which was really nice, which improved things. And yeah, going to see it, I was like, yeah, this works. I mean, it has some generic kind of movie elements in it, the road trip element, and kind of
Yeah,
the buddy trip, buddy kind of road trip element. But I think it's still
yeah,
kind of.
yeah. The first movie, it is kind of a generic family road trip movie, but I think a lot of it is benefited one by the chemistry between Ben Schwartz as Sonic and James Marsden, who, hey, he finally got to be in a good movie with a talking CG animal, and also the delightfully unhinged performance that Jim Carrey gave as Dr. Robotnik. It called back to to a phase of his career that had long passed, and we didn't think we would ever get that from him again. It was like this is the most unhinged he played since like the Riddler.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the great things about the first one. I mean, it really was majority of Jim Carrey really carrying it. I think a lot of it. I think most of the movie was really him doing it. I think we do have. I can't remember if we reviewed it for the site or not. I can't remember if we reviewed it for the channel. If it's up there or not, I don't think we did. But yeah, it was very much Jim Carrey kind of really carrying the movie, and mostly him. I think this sequel, in a lot of ways, is an improvement over the first one. It does what a lot of sequels should do. It's being an improvement. It's being bigger, but not necessarily. It's not overstuffed, because sometimes you'll see with these type of movies, they do a sequel. The first one was a success, and they'll go bigger, and then they necessarily think that translates to better. And I think this one, does add some characters. It adds two new characters: Knuckles, who's voiced by Idris Elba, and it also adds Tails, who's voiced by Colleen, who's the actress from the video games who voices Tails. So fans did love that, them bringing the voice actor from the video game into here. So I think bringing those two new additions do actually help the movie. Doesn't feel overstuffed. It doesn't feel overcrowded. Bringing the new characters in, which I thought was very nice. So the whole premise of this one is Dr. Robotnik, who's played by Jim Carrey, is back. And with the help of Knuckles, they're trying to seek the ultimate power, which they'll get by getting the Master Emerald, which is a collection of emeralds brought together, and with that they can be the most unstoppable force in the entire universe, which Dr. Robotnik desperately wants to get, and him and Knuckles kind of team up in order to fight Sonic in order to find it. And Tails comes to Earth. Basically, he's been watching Sonic this whole time, coming to Earth to warn Sonic about the eventual coming of Knuckles and Dr. Robotnik, and to also help him in his quest to find the Master Emerald to stop Dr. Robotnik and Knuckles the agenda. And in this movie, you have the people also coming back. James Marsden is also back here. You also have... you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. You also have Tika Sumpter, who's back here, who's the wife, who character name is Maddie as well, who looks amazing, by the way. I mean, woof, I mean,
It was
she's
like, God, awooga.
yeah. And you have James Marsden and Tika Sumpter. You have Ben Schwartz, who's back as Sonic, who I think is better this time around. I think I liked him in the first one, and I think he's better here as Sonic. And with the addition of Idris Elba as Knuckles, I think is very humorous, very funny. By the way, I think I like what
Yeah,
they do with him.
he's playing it almost so self-serious. It reminded me a lot of what James Gunn did with Drax the Destroyer and Guardians. It's like he's so self-serious that he ends up being one of the better comedic bits in the movie.
Oh yeah. So it was a lot of fun, yeah, watching him, listening to him, and Tails. A lot of stuff they do with Tails, with the gadgets, everything like that. I thought was very nice. Um, Kind of get you guys' opinions on it. Dusk, what were kind of your thoughts on the movie there?
The first one.
No, this one, the second one.
Um, I didn't, because of confusion. I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see the second one. Oh, okay.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
my bad, bro.
My bad.
Yeah, so I saw Secrets of Dumbledore instead of this.
Oh, okay. My bad.
It's fine. I can talk about the first one. The first one was as a, I guess, somewhat Sonic fan. I don't know too much about it, but I thought it was a good. The first one was solid. The first one, from what I've seen, you'll probably either tell me or not. A lot of the changes that were made for the screen adaptation were actually fairly fine. They kept mostly the spirit of the character. And so he plays a good younger Sonic, which I think fits this iteration of the character. He's just kind of more of a hyped up child, and that fits. Too cool for school. Sonic that you get later in Sonic Adventures 1 and 2, what they try to rebrand him as later. He's kind of in this middle ground. He's not quite super early Sonic. At least not this. He's kind of that. But I enjoyed the first one for the most part. It wasn't awful, which surprised me because as much as I love James Marsden, but unfortunately, James Marsden has an unfortunate career of being in salvaging some of the worst movies, and him being there somehow makes it somewhat better. I'm having to say he actually got something to do, and he and his fiance, they were actually like really good additions that helped ground the movie. Well, Sonic was this blurry, crazy hedgehog, but again, that's the first movie. So how did they compare in the second one, guys?
Okay, so the second one, it does everything that a sequel should do. It's expanding the lore of the Sonic character. From what I've heard from fans of the game, pulling a lot of deep cut references to the games, expanding the role of the human characters in this, like James Marsden and Tika Sumpter, and I think their sister-in-law in the last movie, who kind of ended up just getting tied to a chair for the third act. She is rightfully pissed, and that leads to one of the funniest bits in the entire movie. It was like an entire 5-minute scene where I was just laughing.
Yeah, that if I recall in the last one, it just cuts back. She's like, "Oh no, assistant!" It just cuts back, and she's totally tied up, and her daughter is just like going around like, "Baby, I don't even want you to time anyway. I just want to use the restroom, please." And I'm getting mad.
And that's the character Rachel, who's played by Natasha Rothwell. She is delightful in this. She is so funny. I think the additions of it's a longer movie than the first one. I think this just clocks in a little bit over 2 hours. Yeah, I do think it has a lot of fat to trim. A lot of the stuff that I kind of find annoying with a lot of family films, like a lot of pop culture references that just stop the movie. Like there's an entire dance sequence that would annoy me in any other case, but I think it's well choreographed enough that it didn't bother me.
There are also a little bit of popular culture moments in the first one. I recall, yeah, he would mention some things occasionally, but it was never too. It was always very quick, and then they moved on. Although there was like when he got excited at one point, like he did the flossing dance or whatever it's called real quick, and then moved on. I'm like, oh, well, he's a kid. That makes sense.
And Jim Carrey, I think Jim Carrey, once again, he steals the show in this movie. He is a delight every time he's on screen. His dynamic with both his manservant Agent Stone and also with Idris Elba's Knuckles is so much fun.
Yeah. There's kind of a little bit of that kind of, I think, outdated kind of humor in there, because they do bring back flossing again in this as well, which I don't know.
I mean, with the character that does it, it makes sense considering he's been stranded on the mushroom planet for like 2 years.
Yeah, but I think even when he went there, that shit was out of date. I mean, even when that.
Oh yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Even when he did that, and then when they do have that, that kind of that dance battle. There's some beats in this movie that very much follow the original movie, where it's the same kind of concept of, hey, road trip and pairing two characters together. This time, instead of Sonic and James Marsden, it's Sonic and Tails, and they go to a bar and then they have a dance battle to create more of a bonding scene together. So a lot of that stuff is very much like in the first movie what they did with him when he went to the bar with James Marsden and they had like a bar fight and things like that.
That was one of the more fun moments in that movie.
Yeah, it's going on similar beats as the first movie, but it's not just like we talk about with a lot of sequels where it just remakes that first movie over again. It's not doing that in any real sense of the word.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
it's not doing that. Yeah, it's actually, I think, it does a good job at, like I say, expanding the lore, like you said, really exploring these other characters, and they do good stuff with the other characters. There's some of the stuff in the movie that doesn't really make a lot of sense, and you kind of have to go along with, and there's tons of expository dialogue that gets dumped at you, through points of the movie, through a lot of characters. The wedding sequence, even though I do like that sequence, it's fun. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, really, when you really, kind of look at it. It's like, okay, they just have to do this so they can get to this point to do this thing. And it's like, okay. And you just has to kind of quickly rush through it. But, so it still was fun, but I just thought that whole sequence really was, you just kind of had to rush through it.
True, but you look at most films with a microscope and you can pick it apart. With me, as long as I am having fun or I'm laughing or I'm entertained throughout it, I'm not gonna dig too hard at your fucking mythology. Unless you aggressively piss me off like Morbius did.
Yeah. And this movie, I think it's fun. I think that's the most of it. Thank you, Divine Miss Klein, for the subscription. Thank you very much.
Hey,
how are you? This movie, it's fun, and I think it is a great family movie to see and enjoy. I think there is some good humor in it, and the relationship that James Marsden has with Sonic and Tika Sumpter as well has with Sonic. They're both their family, and them kind of taking in Sonic this time, these couple of years, has also been expanded, and you see kind of how closer they've grown together, which is, I think, very sweet, and how they kind of
it shifts from a friendship in the first movie to more of a parent-child dynamic in this one, and that was really sweet. That there's a lot of scenes between the two of them and Sonic that ended up getting me in the feels. I'm not crying like I did with Coda, though.
Yeah. Thank you, Divine McLean, for gifting the 3 subs. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Yeah. To Viper Fox, Dante Must Die, and Nick.
Me.
Yeah, Nick. I think they do kind of nice little kind of sweet stuff there with the family aspect. I think the humor works really well. I think Adam Polly, he's barely in this movie. I don't think they have a lot of good stuff for him to do, pretty much. But he's I don't think he's the best in this. He's just kind of like, hey, dumb cop kind of bits with him. It's like, okay, that's about it. And
he had one funny moment in the previous movie where he's just one of them had a chainsaw. He's like, why don't you get that up?
Why don't you put that down, man?
Yeah. This one, he's kind of barely really utilized, and this one, it's mostly because this is not enough time for him in the movie. But yeah, the lot of stuff they did with him, I don't think was that strong. Shamar Moore in this, who's the fiance to the sister character of Tika Sumpter, Rachel, Natasha Rothwell. He's good in this as well. I think he kind of has a nice little bit in this as well. A little bit is he in this.
He's got a great bit in this movie.
Yeah, and he's good. And 51 years old guy. He's got a shirtless scene in the movie. Looks great. Hey.
51, still jacked. Is clearly dyeing his goatee though.
It does kind of look like he's dying a little bit, but doesn't need to.
That man looks better than I will ever look, no matter how many hours I spend in a gym or how much HGH I take. I need to get my shots in where I can.
Yeah. He's obviously he's dedicated in the gym. He's working out pretty well, and he's going up. And the thing is, in the movie, he kind of comes in and kind of makes James Marsden look schlubby. When James Marsden in himself, he looks pretty good. He looks really good. Yeah. He has a kind of nice little bit in here. Overall, I had a really good time with this. I thought it was fun. I'm not a Sonic lover. I don't know anything really about the Sonic lore. I've played maybe one or two of the games before, so I'm not like a big Sonic fan at all. But I did enjoy this, and I am looking forward to when they do another one of these. And there is a stinger at the end of the credits there. So if you're a fan of this, then you'll know what that stinger means and everything like that. I had to ask somebody like, "Oh yeah." I was like, what is the whole backstory behind that stinger? And they're like, oh, this is it. And I go, oh, okay. So yeah, there's also a little, so stayed for the end for a little stinger there. Yeah.
You won't have to. You won't have to stay long. It's only a mid-credit scene, and the credits are a lot of fun. They kind of did a similar thing that they did at the credits of the first movie.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, enjoyed Knuckles a lot. A lot of stuff they do with him is very fun. Like they treat him like Drax. I laughed really good at a bit they did where they're reading text messages, and then he's reading the text message.
Dot 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 dot.
Yeah, that was a good bit. I actually kind of laughed at that. I mean, just that was pretty funny, and the action is also pretty good. A lot of stuff they do action wise between the fight scenes between Sonic and Knuckles is pretty good. And the climax I thought where they fought, I thought also was kind of fun too. And like I said, that's where the bigger budget comes in. You know, it's like, hey, we got a lot more money this time because the first one was a success. So yeah, I mean, combined with some great additions, and still kind of keeping that charm of the first one, I would give it a tune in. I'd give it a good tune in.
Yeah, I think this is a perfectly charming family film. I like all of the additions with the cast. I like introducing Knuckles. I think he's fantastically voiced by Idris Elba. He's a terrific voice actor. And also, son of a bitch lying his ass off saying he wasn't going to try to make Knuckles sound sexy. Please. It's Idris fucking Elba. Colleen O'Shaughnessy. It's great that they brought the actress from the games to voice Tails. The expanded role of James Marsden and Tika Sumpter is a lot of fun. Natasha Rothwell, she's fantastic in her big comedic bit in this. Jim Carrey is delightfully unhinged. It's a very similar performance to his Riddler in Batman Returns. And his dynamic with Knuckles is a joy to watch. I dug the hell out of this movie. I think it's a very strong tune-in.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
It's fun for the whole family.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was very enjoyable. Yeah.